70 years. It's hard to describe just how much the world has changed in just 70, what the ancients considered the full span of a single human life. For 70 years, promising young leaders from across the planet have reached out in common interest and friendship, learned from each other and from their travels, building a better world, one handshake, one encounter, one leader at a time. Eisenhower Fellows have gone on to lead their nations, build and run great companies, design new ways to heal the sick, empower the weak, educate, enlighten, design better ways to live for their people. Trustee Emeritus Keith Wheelock, son of one of the organization's founders, Ward Wheelock, recalls the beginning.
Eisenhower Fellowships began with a simple and innovative idea that something good would come of an international exchange of promising leaders.
The new organization reflected the vision of its namesake, Dwight D. Eisenhower, and his hopes that person-to-person diplomacy could diffuse tensions, ease confrontation, and create a safer, more secure world. From that idea, through 7 decades, 11 presidential administrations, through war and peace, a small but mighty army has come to America, then fanned back out through the world.
When I look at Eisenhower Fellows, really across the world, I see leaders who are passionate. I see leaders who've made a great impact. I see leaders who are innovative, who are engaging, and who are willing to be lifelong learners.
The story of the Eisenhower Fellowships begins with the end of a catastrophic conflict, World War II. The world was in ruin. More than 50 million people had died. Witnessing that carnage, Eisenhower said, "I hate war, as only a soldier who has lived it can."
Only as one who has seen its brutality, its futility, its stupidity.
The atomic bombs that ended the last war had become the centerpiece of a new one, a Cold War, pitting East against West. Eisenhower was convinced nuclear war was unwinnable, unsurvivable, unthinkable. Befitting Ike's vision, a group of the new president's Philadelphia friends got together in 1953 to plan a birthday present for the most admired man in America. They included publisher, broadcaster, and philanthropist Walter Annenberg, former Federal Reserve Chairman and Scott Paper Company President Thomas McCabe, Philadelphia manufacturer Philip Sharples, public relations executive Ward Wheelock, and Courtney Smith, president of Swarthmore College. They created an independent, non-governmental, non-partisan, non-profit institution. McCabe wrote President Eisenhower to explain its principles.
To help promote understanding between the United States and other nations, and between other nations and the United States. The organization must be non-political and subject to no political attack. Fellowships must be the most desired in the world, fit today's conditions and President Eisenhower's basic philosophy, available to all regardless of race, creed, color, sex, or politics, certain of continuance on a big scale to make it really important, must be worthy of the name.
The friends gave the president their gift, the Eisenhower Exchange Fellowships, at a huge birthday celebration in Hershey, Pennsylvania on October 13th, 1953. Eisenhower called it the greatest birthday present of his life. The first fellows arrived in 1954, 16 in all, including 3 Americans who headed overseas. 13 foreign leaders traveled the United States for a full calendar year. After starting life in New York, EF headquarters moved to Philadelphia, where Chairman McCabe bought the original EF house on 16th Street in Center City and gave it to the fellowships. President Eisenhower met the fellows in his White House years, setting a precedent for future fellows' U.S. experience, a chance to talk to the President of the United States. Notice anything about the early class pictures? In the beginning, the young leaders were all men. The first woman became a fellow in 1961, Pilar Villegas of Spain. The fellowship's archives are filled with treasures, the impressions of curious, motivated, excited people measuring their firsthand impressions of the U.S. against the America of their imaginations. The fellows each got use of a basic automobile and put together massive road trips to fit their interests and feed their curiosity. The design of the fellowships seemed to anticipate the role of soft power, of the potent influence of person-to-person diplomacy.
If you're ever going to solve problems, it's people getting to know one another and coming together in a way that is safe space for them to talk about it. I mean, when you have somebody from Northern Ireland and somebody from the Irish Republic, and ordinarily you'd think those two will never communicate. When you give them an opportunity to do that, incredible things happen.
Ike used the Gettysburg Farm frequently to bring world leaders and others he wanted to connect with in a close and personal way. And I saw a lot of that as a kid. And I realized what a high priority he put on international understanding and bringing people together in a personal and engaged way.
The reputation, popularity, and prestige of the Eisenhower Fellowships grew. Yet in its early years, the institution faced serious financial challenges, culminating in a crisis in 1976 when the program was halted completely. Fellows gathered in San Francisco to reaffirm the program's future, more than 100 from 56 countries, for the first EF World Forum. Looking back over the 2 decades of fellows since '54, it was clear the application process had attracted top people of outstanding talent. 4 out of 5 fellows went on to rise to the top ranks of their organizations. They included Distinguished Fellow Award recipients named by EF each year. And from the very first class of fellows in 1954, a young water engineer who went on to become president and 7 times the prime minister of his country, Süleyman Demirel of Turkey. Joining them in the EF network, 2 other heads of state, more than 300 CEOs and university presidents, scores of ministers and legislators. In all, more than 2,500 prominent leaders in varied fields from 115 countries. Diverse, dynamic doers, committed to lifelong engagement with EF after their transformational experience, dedicated to creating a world more peaceful, prosperous, and just. Fellows travel the other way, too. Americans going overseas. Leaders from EF's home city, Philadelphia. And Philadelphia is one of 8 USA hubs across the country, as EF has expanded coast to coast to become a truly national organization. American and international fellows united by their common purpose to apply what they learn overseas to better their societies.
The way it changed me is that I think once you get an experience like that, or you go overseas, or you experience a different culture, you can't unlearn that. You can't ignore what you've learned. And for me, because I was working with women entrepreneurs and I was trying to understand the issues that women had globally around that particular topic, I learned that all women have the same issues.
Now, exposing America's rising leaders to the rest of the world is a core emphasis of the Eisenhower Fellowships. In 2020, EF added an exciting new dimension, the Eisenhower Global Scholars Program, sending recent American college graduates to Europe for a year of postgraduate study at the University of Oxford and IE University in Madrid, leading to a master's degree and lifelong immersion in the EF Global Network. In so doing, exposing young Americans to the world beyond our shores and extending the legacy of Dwight Eisenhower to a new generation. Keeping the organization growing and moving forward, a stunning roster of trustees has served over the years. Prominent business and civic leaders from across the country. Befitting an organization with global reach, EF's governance has been enriched by trustees from 5 continents. Leaders who have opened their hearts and their wallets to this organization they cherish. In 1989, the board created the Eisenhower Medal for Leadership and Service to recognize a prominent global statesperson or business leader for their international engagement to advance the values and visions of President Eisenhower and the mission of the organization that bears his name. The honorees are a glittering who's who of their times. Today, EF is a vigorous, healthy, vibrant 70-year-old, always on the lookout for ways to fulfill the core mission set out in 1953 and continuously evolving to remain relevant in a rapidly changing world. Consider the All Ireland Regional Program, launched in 1989 under the leadership of EF President Dory Friend, as the divided island sought a way out of stalemate and violence. It brought together young leaders from Northern Ireland and the Republic. A few years later, some of these same Irish Eisenhower Fellows wound up facing each other across the negotiating table in the talks that led to the Good Friday Peace Agreement, the accord that largely has kept the peace on the island for a quarter century since. The 1989 All Ireland program embodies EF's unique brand of citizen diplomacy. You can see it in the 3 classes of outstanding women leaders from across the world EF has welcomed since 2010 in its Women's Leadership Program, in the Xijing China program that sends American ascendant leaders to China for a month of immersion in Chinese culture, in targeted programs EF has hosted in Latin America and the Caribbean, in Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, China, Northeast Asia, and Saudi Arabia. In 2013, EF hosted a Southeast Asia regional program that brought to the U.S. for the first time fellows from Vietnam, this former American enemy, now home to one of the most robust and impressive chapters of Eisenhower Fellows. In between these programs, EF has convened its fellows in global and regional conferences to address the pressing issues of the day in Alicante, Spain, Paris, Athens, Malaga, Cartagena, Dubai, Dublin, Bangkok, Bali, London, and Kigali, Rwanda, bringing together fellows and other thought leaders from India, Pakistan, China, Taiwan, the Muslim world, and Israel. 5 years ago, David Eisenhower reflected on the unique nature of this organization, named for his grandfather and driven by its timeless values.
It has been 65 years since friends of Dwight Eisenhower made him a gift of this organization. And over the past 65 years, it has proven to be an enterprise for all seasons. In the season of Cold War, in the season of post-Cold War, in the season of fault lines and clashes of civilization, in the season of globalization. It has been an enterprise for all seasons.
Since then, EF deftly navigated the global COVID-19 pandemic, employing new digital tools to create innovative new programs, mixing virtual and hybrid engagement while broadening and deepening its outreach to connect its fellows and drive impact across the amazing global network. Closer to home, the organization has increased the number of fellows, diversified its board governance and its staff, while maintaining its premier status as one of the nation's best-run nonprofits, earning Charity Navigator's highest 4-star rating for the last 9 consecutive years.
From the promise and peril posed by AI, to confronting the excruciatingly difficult issues of racism and justice, to combating climate change in Africa, and striving to strengthen regional peace and stability as a turbulent world remakes itself, Eisenhower Fellowship's programs address the most profound problems of our times.
When you think about an organization like this, you think of it as a living, breathing place.
In these troubled times in the world, 70 years after its founding, the work and mission of Eisenhower Fellowships remains more vital and relevant than ever.
If there was ever a time for a perspective of global leadership, of understanding of the importance of global alliances, of visionary leadership, I can't think of a time in which the world more needed that.
The height of the Cold War in the mid-1950s, another time of tension and fear, President Dwight D. Eisenhower embarked the United States on what he called people-to-people programs. He believed that the more people in different lands across the world, the more they could be connected face-to-face with one another, the greater the chances for peace. At another time of war, tension, and fear, the Eisenhower Fellowship Program perpetuates Ike's vision. The connections and friendships across borders and oceans, people learning about and from one another, will advance the cause of peace and general harmony. That is our purpose at EF. We reaffirm our commitment to expand our efforts going forward.
Good evening. Hope you enjoyed watching this film of the EF story as much as we enjoyed creating it. A big thanks to our colleagues before we get started tonight who made it happen. First to my old friend, our MC Ray Suarez, for his rich, lyrical, mellifluous narration of the script he and I had the pleasure of writing together. And a special thanks to our talented staff, especially Erin Hillman, Stephanie Gropp, Carla Ricci, Lee West, Sam Green, Tom Ferguson, and our very own in-house EF archivist, Global Network Programs Officer Nicole Strunk. Under Erin's supervision, Nicole and Tom, helped by some of their colleagues, have spent more than 2 years painstakingly digging through the bowels of the basement of the EF house to unearth and digitize the riches long buried there, enabling us to share them with you today in this short film and in the beautiful Hall of Memories that Erin, Steph, and Nicole lovingly have created just off the lobby at the Fairmont. If you haven't been there yet, I invite you to go see the photos, videos, historical artifacts, and recorded interviews with our trustees. They tell the inspiring story of Eisenhower Fellowships through the years. Today we celebrate our 70th anniversary and the impact of our fellows by recognizing the exceptional work of our first recipient of the James and Carol Hovey EF Impact Award, our fellow Brima Sulemana from Ghana. He's accompanied here tonight by his lovely wife, Hasiye. Brima's work was selected by a panel of trustees, fellows, and senior staff from nearly 30 project submissions documenting the inspiring impact of our fellows around the world. To give you a taste of the quality of the competition, when you get back to the hotel, if you haven't seen it yet, you can see all the other award candidates and their projects displayed in the banners lining the hallway behind the lobby of the Fairmont. A little later in the program, we honor Melinda French Gates with EF's highest award, the Eisenhower Medal for Leadership and Service, for her extraordinary work as a philanthropist, businesswoman, and global advocate for women and girls. We're delighted to have with us her parents, Elaine and Ray French. Mr. and Mrs. French, we welcome you to the EF Global family, you and Melinda. You all honor us with your presence today as we honor her. Thank you for being with us. From its inception in 1953, Eisenhower Fellowships continuously has evolved and adapted, ever faithful to its mission, bringing leaders face-to-face in direct dialogue to replace ignorance with understanding and help confrontation give way to cooperation. For 70 years now, through 11 U.S. presidential administrations, Democratic and Republican, through countless domestic and international crises, through wars hot and cold, Eisenhower Fellows have built bridges of understanding and trust across borders and cultures, tearing down the walls that divide us. This is what we do. This is who we are. In everything we do, EF is focused on deepening our impact that leads to observable, measurable positive change in the world. Change anchored in the founding pillars of our organization, leaders collaborating in common cause to create a world more peaceful, prosperous, and just. That mission hasn't changed. And those aren't just empty words for us. Every day, in every corner of the planet, Eisenhower Fellows roll up their sleeves and go to work, taking on the biggest challenges in their societies, striving to make that vision a reality. At this dangerous moment of immense disruption and uncertainty in the world, the work and mission of Eisenhower Fellowships have never been more important. It is my great pleasure to introduce a special person who shares that belief. Jim Hovey is a deeply committed, profoundly thoughtful, incredibly generous friend of Eisenhower Fellowships. Like Dwight Eisenhower, Jim had been a soldier who had seen too much of war, of its utter brutality and horror and stupid waste. For more than 3 decades, Jim has been a dedicated trustee of EF, serving for many years as vice chairman of the board under General Powell, and later as chair of our executive committee. In the process, he's borne witness to EF's continuous evolution to an organization that connects and empowers its fellows to ignite their impact around the world. As we celebrate that impact today, I'm proud to announce that Jim and his lovely wife, Carol, have made a $900,000 gift to Eisenhower Fellowships to support our forum here and our programs and to endow the new annual James and Carol Hovey EF Impact Award in perpetuity. Thank you, Jim. Jim has been a driving force behind EF's strategic focus on maximizing the impact of our programs and being able to track and measure that impact with data collected internally and also through independent external program impact evaluations. I am humbled and grateful to Jim for his magnificent generosity, his leadership, and his example. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming up onto the stage our colleague, our friend, Jim Hovey.
Thank you, George. As we celebrate Eisenhower Fellowship's 70th anniversary, it's been my pleasure to have been on hand for half its existence. This month marks 35 years of my personal participation. As we just saw in the film, EF was founded for a noble purpose. Back in 1945, when the United Nations was created in this very theater, the world's leaders wanted to avoid the mistakes made after World War I, mistakes that contributed to the Great Depression and World War II. One large bloc thought that communism with a command economy was the way to go. Another large bloc believed in free markets and open societies. In the West, this latter version was embodied in the Bretton Woods rules-based global trade and finance system that fostered cooperation, open markets, and growth after the war. Dwight Eisenhower believed in the world's best chance for peace and progress was an engaged United States promoting free markets and international cooperation. When EF was founded in 1953, Ike's first year in the White House, it was the perfect birthday present. If Bretton Woods was openness at the global level, EF was openness at the personal level. Eisenhower believed that if people sat down and talked with one another, they were much less likely to shoot at one another. By the time I joined the board, the world was changing rapidly. 6 months after my first annual meeting in May of 1989, the Berlin Wall came down. EF moved to seize new opportunities. We hosted fellows from Russia and from former Soviet bloc countries in Eastern Europe. We brought together, as you saw, for the first time, fellows from Ireland and Northern Ireland. Our chairman, President George H.W. Bush, personally negotiated with Chinese Premier Jiang Zemin to create a China Single Nation program in 1997. And that was followed in 1999 with a second Chinese program. As the world was becoming more interconnected, technology also was on the cusp of dramatic change. There was no public internet. International phone calls were expensive. Fax machines were not present in much of the world. International mail could take 2 to 3 weeks. Social media wouldn't exist for another 15 years. Video conferencing, not for another 20 years. Regular communications with fellows around the world were much more challenging then. EF's programs and goals were changing as well. Our international fellowships back then focused mainly on introducing fellows to the United States and offering individual professional development. Words like leadership, networking, impact were not part of EF's lexicon. As a new member of the board, I noted that EF had not done any real strategic planning at that point. So we asked, what is our mission? How well do we do it? How can we best achieve our goals and act as stewards of the resources given to us? Why should someone donate money to EF? We reviewed our programs, their ideal class size, the ideal length, and how many countries should we operate and why. This led to 4 distinct stages of strategic planning over the years. In the first stage, we decided to focus on fewer countries, cutting down from almost 100 to about 50. In the second stage, we debated what to do with the fellows after they returned home. We decided to create a global network with country chapters. We allocated financial and staff resources to network outreach. We asked fellows for a lifelong commitment to engage with the organization and advance our mission. We helped our fellows organize several global conferences between 1992 and 2009. Then we began to ask, how can we proactively use this new network to make the world more peaceful, prosperous, and just? This led to the third and fourth stages of our strategic planning, which George has led since 2015, with inputs from hundreds of fellows, trustees, and other smart people inside and outside of EF. We set EF's primary strategic objective as maximizing the impact of our programs, maximizing impact. Impact has become the central theme, qualitative as well as quantitative. We added a requirement that fellows commit to carrying out a concrete project in the real world, positive impact, and to mentor younger leaders behind them. We set out to expand our USA programs and expose more ascendant American leaders to the rest of the world. We moved to diversify our board, our fellows, our staff, bringing in more women and internationalizing our governance. At this stage of our strategic evolution, EF selects superb fellows from record numbers of applicants. It brings international fellows to the U.S. and sends U.S. fellows overseas in new hybrid programs. It connects them afterwards with expanded network outreach via new technologies. Pushing even further, we have added independent and external evaluations of the impact of our programs. As a result, EF is stronger, nimbler, it's more relevant than ever, and has orders of magnitude greater impact than when I joined it 35 years ago. Our Impact Award winner today, Brahma Sulemana of Ghana, is a wonderful illustration of that. Carol and I are proud to support this work as EF writes the next chapter of its story. I have no doubts that the best is yet to come. Just look around at the impressive impact of our fellows we celebrate today. When Eisenhower fellows get together, important things happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, for all you do and all you've done for EF. I hope one of the important themes that came through in that brief look back at the last 70 years, was how the fellowships changed again and again to respond to the challenges of a changing world. EF started in a rebuilding post-war world and now serves a world transformed, yet remains fresh and smart and relevant. It's time for the presentation of the first James and Carol Hovey EF Impact Award, created to recognize an Eisenhower Fellow or Fellows for outstanding project achievement in generating a positive impact. The selection panel of trustees, fellows, outside experts, and senior staff evaluated the 27 submissions on the following criteria: connection to an EF program. How did the applicant's Eisenhower Fellowship help shape the positive impact? What influence did the fellowship have on the design or implementation of the project? What is the observable positive impact? What is the measurable change or concrete evidence of that impact? How sustainable is it? Is the impact embedded into a system, institution, or organization? Tonight's winner, Brima Sulemana of Ghana, checked all the boxes. And here to present the award is the chairman of the Eisenhower Fellowships, Dr. Robert M. Gates.
Let me begin by joining George and thanking Jim and Carol Hovey for their wonderful generosity in endowing this gift. Today we celebrate the inspiring impact of Eisenhower Fellowships around the world with the presentation of the first James and Carol Hovey Eisenhower Fellowships Impact Award to an Eisenhower Fellow from Ghana who is dedicated to bringing transparency and effective democratic government to the people of his country and his region. For a young man, Brima Sulemana, in many ways, is a traditional, old-school, muckraking journalist. As founder of the Fourth Estate, a regional, independent, nonprofit new organization in West Africa, he helped shine a spotlight on bad governance, corruption, misappropriation of funds, and other offenses to the public trust. Maybe you ought to come here. At a time when traditional journalism is widely held in ill repute in our country and elsewhere, amid the cacophony of noise on the internet, where malicious, deliberate disinformation travels easily alongside real news that is vital to the functioning of democratic self-government, it is fitting that a young Eisenhower Fellow in West Africa has reminded us of the existential importance of providing accurate, verifiable, nonpartisan information to arm members of the public with the facts they need to be effective citizens in a democracy. Against all odds, Brima has brought the journalism of accountability to his country. In just the first 2 years since its founding, the Fourth Estate's incisive reporting has led to impressive results. Its stories have forced scores of public officials to comply with new asset declaration laws, led to the return of illegally secured state lands back to the government from the family of a deceased politician, uncovered and halted the illicit distribution of fake COVID-19 negative certificates, and led to the prosecution of a medical practitioner who was using his facility to sexually exploit female patients. Brima's innovative journalism startup was selected as the winner of this first EF Impact Award in a highly competitive field of 27 project submissions from around the world by a distinguished panel of Eisenhower Fellowship trustees, fellows, outside experts, and senior staff. Our vice chair, Governor Christine Todd Whitman, and many of the other panelists remarked afterward that this was an excruciatingly difficult competition to judge because of the extremely high quality of so many of the entries. That is a tribute to all of our Eisenhower Fellows, and we salute you all. In the end, the panel selected Brima and the Fourth Estate for its impressive impact so far, noting the project is directly tied to his fellowship program. The panel also recognized that Brima's work has come at significant personal risk and has proven sustainable. For his distinguished professional achievement and the positive impact his work has generated in his region, serving as an example of what works that might be applied to other parts of the world, I am proud to present Brima Sulemana the inaugural James and Carol Hovey Eisenhower Fellowship's Impact Award. This prestigious award also comes with a $10,000 prize. Congratulations. And now I'd like to invite Brima to join me at the podium. First, the check. Now I'm going to give you this award, and it's really heavy. Thank you. Thank you. Let's come over here for a photograph. Ready? Got it? Thank you. The podium is yours.
Well, thank you very much. It is absolutely an extraordinary honor to stand before all of you today as the recipient of this coveted award. Growing up as a child in a hamlet in a cocoa farm in rural Ghana and walking 5 kilometers every morning through a bushy path to Nyamebechere Primary School, I never could imagine a day like this in my life. Nyamebechere is a word in the Akan language in Ghana, which means God shall reveal. And indeed, this day is a revelation that all great things are achievable. I am profoundly grateful to the distinguished trustees, president, and staff of Eisenhower Fellowships for this memorable honor. My illiterate peasant farmer dad and mom are not here with me, but today would certainly go down as a great moment in their lives, knowing that it is their toil that has taken me from the cocoa farm hamlet to this iconic city of San Francisco for this memorable recognition. I come from Ghana, a region in West Africa, a region that every year thousands of women die during childbirth, a region where thousands of kids die every year before their 5th birthday, a region where thousands of young girls are forced out of school every year and married forcefully against their will. A region that is currently going through a steep democratic recession and a growing climate crisis. As a journalist and a nonprofit leader, I know journalism can do a lot in shining a light on the bright spot, on the dark spots of humanity. And I do know how potent journalism can be in empowering women and children. And of course, I do know that journalism can also go a long way in contributing to addressing some of the most fundamental problems facing humanity. But it is not any kind of journalism that can do these. It takes great public interest journalism that holds the powerful accountable and empower the weak with a voice to be able to do these. And that is exactly what we have been doing in the last 2 years through the Fourth Estate Nonprofit Journalism Project. Indeed, we have not only been doing impactful journalism, we have also been grooming the next generation of investigative journalists across West Africa through our Next Generation Investigative Journalism Fellowship Program. Since 2021, 43 young journalists from 10 countries have been supported through this fellowship program. But of course, all these would not have been possible without the incredible support that I received from EF during my fellowship in 2019. This fellowship program helped me travel across many cities in the United States to meet with some of the best brains in journalism and some of the best experts in media to help me define the Fourth Estate idea as my EF project. I am profoundly grateful to all staff of EF, and especially my program officer, Nicholas Lake, who helped me set up all the amazing meetings that I had during my fellowship. And to the young, passionate, and fearless journalists who work with me at the Fourth Estate and of course couldn't be here with me, and especially to the founding editor, Manasseh Azuri-Awuni, I say I'm very grateful. And then, of course, to the board and staff of the Media Foundation for West Africa and our numerous funders who generously support our work, I say thank you so much. I am also grateful to my lovely wife, Dr. Hasiatu Abubakar, who is here with me, and to our kids, Mufaddal, Takia, and Mariam, for the amazing support and the love that you continue to give me, despite doing all this work that sometimes comes with a lot of risk. And to my fellow fellows from Ghana and from around the world, all I can say to you is thank you so much for the outstanding work you are doing to make the world a better place. Indeed, this award would certainly fire up my colleagues and I to continue to do the best that we can with all that we have to support efforts in making this world a better place for all, in line with President Eisenhower's vision of a world more peaceful, prosperous, and just. Once again, I thank you so much for the honor. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Any night when the centrality and value of good journalism is recognized is a good night. Congratulations, Brian. Now it's time for the highlight of this World Forum, the presentation of the Dwight D. Eisenhower Medal for Leadership and Service. Let me call back to the podium EF's distinguished chairman, Secretary Gates.
For more than 3 decades, the Eisenhower Fellowship's Board of Trustees has awarded the annual Dwight D. Eisenhower Medal for Distinguished Leadership and Service to recognize prominent global leaders who publicly embody President Eisenhower's commitment to peace, prosperity, and enhancing international understanding. Past recipients include presidents of the United States, multiple secretaries of state, international statesmen and business leaders, and organizations such as Doctors Without Borders and the International Rescue Committee. Tonight, we present this prestigious award to Melinda French Gates for her extraordinary work as a philanthropist, businesswoman, and global advocate for women and girls. As co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and founder of Pivotal Ventures, for more than 2 decades, Melinda has used her enormous influence to advance public health, champion global financial inclusion, and inspire women and girls to spark meaningful change around the world. In this important work, Melinda has inspired us and earned our profound admiration. She embodies the vision of President Eisenhower and this distinguished international leadership exchange organization created in his name. On this, our 70th anniversary, it is fitting and proper also that we honor a woman leader of such renowned global stature for her work in an area aligned with a core area of emphasis for Eisenhower Fellowships, women's leadership, a topic where EF continues to innovate with exciting new initiatives, including 2 new ones we will be sharing with everyone tomorrow. As we've seen today at our conference and again this evening, with the fascinating historical video, the moving remarks by Jim Hovey, and the inspiring example of our Impact Award winner, Brima. 70 years on, Ike would be proud of what has become of the Eisenhower Fellowships. By the same token, I believe he would be deeply dismayed to see a world at war again in the Middle East, and even in Europe, for the first time since he led the Allies to victory there in 1945. The tensions and conflict we see in so many places underscore the importance of the Eisenhower Fellowships and our focus on building international understanding and cross-border personal relationships, not to mention strengthening democracy and human rights, as exemplified by our new Eastern Europe program. It is altogether fitting that this EF Awards ceremony take place in the same room where the United Nations was created. It highlights EF's efforts to show the world the best face of America. I want to thank Jim Hovey and all our generous supporters, especially inasmuch as EF depends on private donations to carry our work forward, work that is more important than ever in these turbulent times. This 70th anniversary program is deeply inspiring, as is the recipient of the award I will now present. For her extraordinary professional achievements, her impactful philanthropy, and her tireless work on behalf of women and girls everywhere, I am proud to present the 2023 Dwight D. Eisenhower Medal for Leadership and Service to Melinda French Gase. Melinda, would you please join me?
Hi, good evening, and thank you so much, Secretary Gates. I can honestly say it's hard to follow somebody like Brima, because Brima, the work that you do and all the Eisenhower Fellows is just so incredibly impressive and important. So I'm really honored to share this stage and this space tonight with all of you and the important work that you're all doing. It's honestly really humbling for me to receive an award like this because I grew up in a family, and as you heard, my parents are here tonight. My parents sent me to a school whose motto was Serviam, which means I will serve. And they embedded that in our family values, to serve and also social justice. Because of them, I've always known that I wanted to give back, but I never imagined in my life the turn that it would take. So my background is in computer science and in business, but my second career really has been in philanthropy. And I call my second career a learning journey for me because I can never begin to learn enough. And it's only in being on the ground in the places that we try to work and serve that I feel like I can even understand what the needs of the work are. So I'd like to share tonight 3 lessons from this learning journey that I've been on with all of you. So the first is, when you're working to solve a problem, the people closest to the problem should have a role in designing the solution. Now, that may seem really obvious, but I can tell you that in global development, that has not been the case for very long. I'll give you an example. A good example is from our early foundation work in agriculture. About a decade ago, one of our partners in Africa introduced a new pump to help smallholder farmers irrigate their land. Now, we expected that those pumps were going to fly off the shelves because they were affordable, they were easy to use, they increased water efficiency, so much so that the farmers who were already using them were getting a profit because they had so much more crop to sell because of the water efficiency they were getting. But there were some farmers who didn't want the pumps. And specifically, it became very obvious that the female farmers didn't want the pumps. And the problem, as our partner eventually learned, was the way the pump had been designed. To use it, women had to stand up on the pump and they would pedal it. It was almost like riding a bike. And this caused their hips to sway, which was culturally completely and totally inappropriate. So once the pump was redesigned, adoption rates shot up, but the problem could have been avoided altogether if the farmers had been consulted from the very beginning of the project. So the bottom line is that no matter how much technical expertise any well-meaning organization brings to the table, our jobs are to find solutions with the communities that we serve, not for the communities we serve. No one modeled that idea more powerfully than the late Dr. Paul Farmer, someone I was lucky enough to call a friend and a teacher. Paul lived and worked in the communities all around the world that he served. In each place, he saw himself and the people he met there as full equals working together in deep partnership. He called this kind of service accompaniment. True accompaniment, he said, cannot happen at a distance. It does not privilege technical expertise above solidarity. And it's not a single life's work, but rather the work of many pulling together over long years and many miles that makes progress. So in other words, this work is something that requires all of us. The second lesson I want to share is that when women have power, it transforms societies. I will tell you, when I came to this work, gender equality was not on my radar at the beginning, and in fact, I didn't actually think I wanted to work on gender equality. But I very quickly learned that the world isn't going to make any significant progress without getting to gender equality. If we want to create a world that is healthier, that's more peaceful and more prosperous, then we have to create a world that is more equal. Decades of research now backs this up. When women can fully, and I mean fully, participate in economies, it leads to greater stability in their households, it improves food security, and it reduces poverty. That's why I've encouraged our foundation to look at every issue we work on now through a gender lens. And it's why I started my own company, Pivotal Ventures, to expand women's power and influence here in the United States. And it's why I'm especially encouraged to see the Eisenhower Fellowships promote women's leadership. The world needs more women making decisions, controlling resources, and making and shaping policies and perspectives at every single level of society. And as more women step into these roles, It's going to unlock progress on so many other issues. We see it time and time and time again. There are so many examples of this in so many places. Last year, it was driven home for me by a group of women who were members of an empowerment group in India. And what I saw from this women's group of empowered women who were standing together, as their own sense of self-worth grew, as they began to earn their own income, they started to have more power to make their own decisions about their lives and their families' lives. They also began to improve the lives of everybody around them. Together, they were ensuring that the women and the children in their community were getting nutritious meals. They were empowering their neighbors to stand up to injustice in other communities, and they were challenging entrenched gender norms that inspired other women to join them. At the end of the trip, a woman named Kumkum described the philosophy that motivates her to keep fighting for change. She said to me, "From small stones, you can make mountains." And I thought it was a beautiful way to describe what these women were doing together, and it brings me to my last lesson. Nothing inspires collective action like collective optimism. The work you all do is not easy. You know better than anyone how daunting these deeply entrenched global challenges can be. But as President Eisenhower put it, pessimism never won any battle. Optimism, on the other hand, inspires action. Now, optimism is not a passive belief that things are going to get better on their own. It's a conviction that we can make things better. It's the force that drives the world to keep setting ambitious goals and rallying around those goals to meet them. And it's the reason each one of you does the work that you do. So the 3 lessons I've shared have one common theme: the importance of co-creating solutions with the people closest to the problems, the importance of tapping into women's power to transform societies, and the importance of challenging optimism into action. All 3 of these values are already baked into your work. I see them in your efforts to bring clean drinking water to students in Sri Lanka, to increase the number of women in public office in Zimbabwe and the number of women in tech in South Africa, to foster racial and economic equity in the United States, and to help families recover from the pandemic. These are not lessons you need to learn from me. They're lessons you're already teaching others through the power of your leadership and your network. The work to take on the world's greatest challenges is not the work of a single life. But when people like you come together to encourage each other, to inspire each other, to model what leadership looks like and service, what it looks like at its very best, then out of small stones, we can make mountains. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for what you're doing today, and thank you for the world that you're building for all of us tomorrow. Thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this tonight.
It looks good on you. Joining us from Washington now is a special person in the life of the Eisenhower Fellowships. Susan Eisenhower is an accomplished writer, speaker, foreign policy expert, author of 4 books, and countless opinion pieces in the most influential U.S. publications. She's a longtime trustee of Eisenhower Fellowships, and in 2018, Susan and her brother David were the recipients of the Eisenhower Medal for Leadership and Service. She also happens to be the granddaughter of Dwight D. Eisenhower. She knew him well, remembers him tenderly. author of the widely acclaimed book about her grandfather, How Ike Led, The Principles Behind Eisenhower's Biggest Decisions. Susan couldn't be here with us tonight because of a long-scheduled conflict this weekend, but she wanted to share some thoughts with you about Eisenhower Fellowships and what this organization means to the Eisenhower family. So let's listen to Susan Eisenhower.
Hello, I'm Susan Eisenhower, a longtime board member of the Eisenhower Fellowship Program and also a member of the Eisenhower family. I'm very sorry I can't be with you here this evening, but I want to take this opportunity to offer my congratulations to Melinda French Gates. What an honor it is to have her with us, and we are very pleased to be able to bestow on her the Eisenhower Medal for Leadership and Service. May I say that this is meaningful for all members of my family, not only this award, but also the extraordinary work that the Eisenhower Fellowship Program does. Since 1953, it has offered the opportunity to extend leadership lessons and contacts all over the world to many fellows who have made extraordinary differences in their own countries. It means a lot to my family, as I know it did to my grandfather when he received this wonderful birthday present in 1953. I can't think of anything that honors my grandfather's memory more than building a cadre of leadership around the world to make our globe a safer and healthier planet. So thank you very much for this opportunity to greet you this evening and to offer my most heartfelt endorsement of the work, the important work that this fellowship does and all of the fellows who bear the Eisenhower name. What an honor for my family. Thank you very much.
I offered to pitch in, but I'm not in the right union. Now we have a special treat from Paris, France. We have with us tonight an extraordinary artist, one of the world's most celebrated classical music pianists. Claire-Marie Leguet is a major soloist in Europe, Asia, and the Americas. She began playing piano at 4. In 1998, she was voted France's Young Musician of the Year. She's toured the U.S. with the Chicago Civic Orchestra, performed with the London Philharmonic, the New Japan Philharmonic, and other major classical orchestras from Monaco to Germany to Brazil. Claire-Marie has played at Carnegie Hall, Lincoln Center, at Geneva's Victoria Hall, Luxembourg's Philharmonie, the Chicago Symphony Center, and many other legendary venues. Claire-Marie is also a proud Eisenhower Fellow, a member of the 2015 Women's Leadership Program. Since then, she's brought her prodigious talent to global gatherings of Eisenhower Fellows in Miami and in Malaga, Spain, where her magical music enchanted more than 300 assembled fellows and guests in an unforgettable open-air concert from the stone courtyard of an 11th century Muslim ruler's ancient castle. Now Claire-Marie has volunteered to fly here from Paris to share her special gift with her EF Global family in celebration of this organization she cherishes. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you Claire Marie Leguet.
Good evening. Tonight I'll be playing pieces from two composers who I deeply believe have made the world a better place. Let's start with a special melody from Bach. It's the beginning of the renowned Goldberg Variations. This piece makes me think of the dedication people like President Eisenhower and the fellows have shown to the world. It's a bit like how Bach's second wife, Anna Magdalena, used to jot down the music her husband improvised. Thanks to her, even after nearly 300 years, we can still enjoy this incredible piece, which may have disappeared without her. As a fellow of Women Leadership Program, this has a special meaning to me. Next, we'll dive into Rêve d'amour, Dream of Love, by Liszt. Because really, what's more powerful than love when it comes to making the world a better place? Finally, I'll perform a piece, the 10th study of Liszt, that highlights how dedication and skill in any field can help us to contribute our best to the world. Thank you. And thank you to Secretary Gates, Christy Whitman, Jim Hovey, and George Delama, and all the team of Eisenhower Fellowship to give us the chance to share music tonight, with my profound gratitude.
That magnificent artistry brings an end to our official program this evening. But let's have one more round of applause for our award recipients tonight, Brima Suleimana and Melinda French Gates. And maybe a hand for all the Eisenhower Fellows and their enormous impact around the world. Before I invite you to our dinner reception in the beautiful green room upstairs and in the lobby of this historic building downstairs, I'd like to ask everyone to stay at your seats just a little bit longer for a historic group photo. Just stand in place right where you are. This is not hard. And we will take a group photo of all of you from up here on the stage. And my instructions say that I'm supposed to find a way down too. Let me put my glasses on. Here we go. We're not done. We're done-ish, but we're not done. I need the Ghana Fellows and Brima and Secretary Gates, Jim Hovey, George DeLama to come back up on stage for a moment for a photo of our inaugural EF Impact Award winner with his countrymen and women from Ghana. So let's get that group up here. And the rest of you, go about your business. Thank you. See you at dinner.
Well done, Ray.
You're looking pretty slick tonight.
This is my Malunar regalia.